Good morning, friends, and happy 2025. Our Hebrew scripture is from the prophet Isaiah, the 43rd chapter, beginning with the 16th verse. Thus says the Lord, who makes a way in the sea, a path in the mighty waters, who brings out chariot and horse, army and warrior. They lie down. They cannot rise. They are extinguished, quenched like a wick. Do not remember the former things, or consider the things of old. I am about to do a new thing. Now it springs forth. Do you not perceive it? I will make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. The wild animals will honor me, the jackals and ostriches. For I give water in the wilderness, rivers in the desert, to give drink to my chosen people, the people whom I formed for myself, so that they might declare my praise. And for Matthew, the 2nd chapter, beginning with the 1st verse. In the time of King Herod, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem asking, "Where is the child who has been born King of the Jews? For we have observed his star at its rising and have come to pay him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was frightened, and all Jerusalem with him. And calling together all the chief priests and scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Messiah was to be born. They told him, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For so it has been written by the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah. For from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the wise men and learned from them the exact time when the star had appeared. Then he sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search diligently for the child, and when you have found him, bring me word, so that I may also go and pay him homage." When they had heard the king, they set out, and there ahead of them went the star they had seen at its rising, until it stopped over the place where the child was. When they saw that the star had stopped, they were overwhelmed with joy. On entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother, and they knelt down and paid him homage. Then opening their treasure chests, they offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they left for their own country by another road. This is the word of the Lord. Thanks be to God. Long before January 6th was remembered for a violent insurrection, January 6th is the day of Epiphany. Epiphany means revealing. On Epiphany, Jesus is revealed to the Magi. 12 days after Christmas, like the song on the first day of Christmas and on, 12 days of Christmas take us from December 25th to January 6th. And snow takes us from January 6th to January 12th to celebrate Epiphany, the coming of the wise men, the Magi, who journeyed to Jesus from the east in Matthew's prologue to his gospel. What lessons do we learn from the Magi? One lesson is that the road to Jesus isn't always straight. Our lives unfold with unexpected twists and turns. When we embark on long journeys to unknown places in our lives, we encounter barriers and detours on our journey of faith. But our life's road was never meant to be straight from one point to the next. God is with us and guides every twist and turn as we go home by another road. As we go home changed by our encounter with the baby Jesus along the way. When the astrologers follow the star to Jerusalem and ask King Herod, "Where is the child who is born king of the Jews?" an incredible problem arises. King Herod is king of the Jews. He's so bent on keeping his power and so paranoid about others betraying him, he's killed his own son, fearing his son would take over his throne. Now, these foreign magi ask about a baby who is born king of the Jews outside of Herod's family and control. Inwardly, he's erupting in anger. "I'm the king of the Jews, and I plan to stay that way, thank you very much." Outwardly, he asks the Magi to report back about what they find when they find the baby. Of course, he plans to use their information to kill this threat to his power. After finding Jesus, the wise men are warned in a dream not to return to Herod and go home by another way. It's a good thing they were open to other options. Sometimes we think the path we're on is the only way to go. But when dreams or life itself or the still small voice of God offer us another way to go, we can listen and move down roads of life we never expected. This week we felt such anguish for those devastated by the fires in Los Angeles area. Not forest fires, but urban and suburban fires with whole neighborhoods, schools, churches destroyed. These people are losing everything and have to start over, not knowing where they'll live, where their kids will go to school, missing the neighbors and neighborhoods they've called home for most of their lives. It's not something God caused, but God suffers with and walks with those people as they go down new roads they never anticipated. Some of us experience loss and grief, separation from family, changes in our relationships, changes in our health, and struggles to maintain our health. And God goes with us down new paths as we go home by another way, like the Magi. It may not be where we were headed when we started our journey, but life is not a straight line. Isaiah 43:6 gives us a powerful promise that God makes a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. God creates new paths where none seemed to exist before. God invites us to embrace the new thing God is doing, to move forward into the future as we learn from the past and step into new possibilities. As we continue to move into a new year, let us remember that we are never truly alone. God is with us. And let us remember the reason the wise men went on their journey: to find, hold, worship the baby who is the hope for the world. I can't think of a better way to follow the Magi to the baby Jesus than to listen to Lonnie Lacey's poetic reflection called "What We Hold." Sometimes all I can do in a sermon is share what someone else has so beautifully written. I heard this week, and I have to share it with you. So listen with me to this writing by the Reverend Lonnie Lacey, entitled "What We Hold." Listen for his words. I believe they'll speak to you better than mine today. This may sound odd, but one of the most important things ever said to me when I was still training to be a pastor was this: "Honey, whatever you're doing, you got to put that down and come hold this baby." What? Put it down and come hold this baby. I was a brand new chaplain intern at Children's National Medical Center in Washington, D.C. I was all of 24 years old, just 2 years out of college. I had just arrived and been told that the floor I would be covering was the neonatal intensive care unit. I knew nothing. So there I was on my first day, my starchy white shirt, my coat and tie, my shiny new plastic badge, a clipboard in my hands, and a clueless expression on my face. I had no idea what I was doing. I stood there, watching those nurses tending those babies who were fighting for their lives. So I did what many of us would do. I tried my best to look very busy and very important. By the way, if you ever want to look very busy and very important, just carry a clipboard and flip the pages up and down while you glance from side to side. As a wise man once said, 60% of the time it works every time, but not on this nurse. Honey, she said, whatever it is that you're doing, you got to put it down and come hold this baby. What? Put it down and come hold this baby. Let the record show that this nurse was no Virgin Mary, meek and mild. Before I knew it, she had physically yanked the clipboard from my hands, spun me around by my shoulders, plopped me down in a rocking chair, and placed someone else's baby in my arms. There, she said. If you're going to be that baby's chaplain, that's what he needs you to do. Okay, I said, but what else am I supposed to do? Nothing, she said. There's nothing else you can do. You just hold him and love him and pray. Turns out she was right. A huge part of how I learned to be a pastor was holding babies in a neonatal hospital wing for an entire summer. The thing is, when you're holding a baby, there really isn't much else you can do. Sure, we've come up with all kinds of ingenious ways to try to get around that. Baby wraps, baby slings, baby Bjorns. In fact, later, when I became a dad, I considered myself the reigning champion of holding a baby while also doing other things like unloading the dishwasher. But just because you can doesn't mean you should. It's just true. It's true. When you're holding a baby, there isn't much else you can do except to hold it, love it, and pray. And honestly, the baby can't do all that much either. The two of you just sort of melt into one another. You just sort of exist together. So maybe, just maybe, that's why you're here today. I don't know your business, and I don't know your why you think you're here. I don't know what drew you out, got you dressed, brought you to this place. I don't know what you think it was, but I can tell you, I don't think it was a Facebook ad or a personal invitation. I don't think it was tradition. You've come here for one thing and one thing only, to hold the baby. And whether you know it or not, you have come here to hold the baby. Jesus is the one who has brought you here. And really, there's nothing else you can do. You just hold him and love him and pray. But be forewarned, my friends, for a time like this comes at great cost. To hold this baby, this Jesus whom we proclaim this day, means you're going to have to put some things down. When you hold this baby, nothing else matters. Everything else falls away. When you hold this baby, the warriors must put down their trampling boots and all their garments rolled with blood. The oppressors must put down their rods. The emperors must put down their censuses. The shepherds must put down their staffs. The judges put down their gavels, the bankers their pencils, the farmers their plows, the surgeons their scalpels, the journalists their pens, the scholars their books, the janitors their brooms, the chaplain interns their clipboards, the internet trolls their keyboards, the leaders their egos. And when you and I hold this baby, when we hold this Jesus, everything else must fall away. Our cell phones, our distractions, our ambitions, our rights, our wrongs, our hurts, our grievances, our power. Whatever it is that you're doing, you got to put it down and come hold this baby. But here's the final twist. Here's the insane grace of it all. For all that you and I have to lay aside, for all the power we have to let go in order to hold this baby, the thing is, don't you know, he's already gone first. Yeah, you and I have to give up a little bit to hold a baby, but think of how much more you have to give up to be the baby. He could have come any way he wanted, as a mighty warrior, as a fearsome beast, as a petty king with swagger and prestige and power. But instead, this baby, this Jesus, came like this. Whatever it was he was doing, he put it down all those years ago so that he could come and rest right there next to your beating heart. So my friends, what is it? What is it that you get to lay aside? Even if just for one day. The creator of your soul has put everything he had aside because all he ever really wanted was just to be with you. So whatever it is that you're doing, put it down. Come on, hold this baby. There is nothing else you can do. You just hold him and love him and pray.